The night I learned how cruel silence could be began with a ringing phone and ended with a woman sitting alone under a streetlight, her hands folded tightly in her lap as if she were holding her own heart together. I did not know her name yet. I only knew that something sacred had just been broken in front of me, and once you witness a moment like that, you are no longer the same person. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us what it means to be human, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, The Kindness Chronicles. Your small action helps stories like this reach hearts that are quietly waiting to heal. I had agreed to accompany a friend to a small cafe known for its soft lights and nervous laughter, a place where first impressions were born and often buried. It was blind date night, and the room was filled with expectation. That was when I saw her. She sat at a corner table, posture careful, eyes observant in a way that suggested she listened with more than her ears. Her hair was neatly tied back, and there was a gentleness in her expression that made the noise around her seem unnecessary. Only later did I learn she was deaf, a fact that had already shaped her life with both strength and sorrow long before that evening. The man who was supposed to meet her arrived late, scanned the room impatiently, and sat across from her without warmth. I watched from a distance as his smile faded the moment he realized what he had signed up for. His body language changed, shoulders stiff, eyes darting as if searching for an exit. She noticed everything. Deafness had sharpened her vision, her ability to read discomfort, rejection, and unspoken judgments. She tried to communicate, her hands moving with grace, her face hopeful but guarded. He responded with awkward gestures and forced politeness, but the truth was already written between them. The rejection came quickly and without mercy. He stood up, muttered excuses to the air rather than to her, and walked away. No explanation, no apology that mattered, just absence. The cafe swallowed him whole, but the damage lingered. She remained seated, staring at the empty chair, her composure cracking just enough to reveal the weight she carried every day. I saw her take a slow breath, the kind people take when they are used to disappointment, but still surprised by its sting. I did not plan to approach her. Courage does not always arrive fully formed. Sometimes it limps. But something inside me refused to let that moment pass untouched. I sat across from her, careful not to startle her, and introduced myself the best way I could. My hands were clumsy at first, my understanding incomplete, but sincerity has its own language. She looked at me with caution, then curiosity, then something softer. We shared the table in silence that felt fuller than most conversations I had known. Over time, she told me her story in fragments and expressions, written words on a napkin, and patient gestures. She had been born deaf, raised in a world that constantly reminded her of what she lacked rather than what she carried. Relationships had always been complicated. People were intrigued at first, then overwhelmed. Some treated her like a burden, others like a project. That night had not been an exception, only another reminder. Yet there was no bitterness in her, only fatigue and a quiet hope that refused to die. I listened in the only way that mattered, with my whole presence. I realized how often hearing people forget to truly listen. She spoke without sound, but her story was loud. She wanted love, partnership, and dignity. She wanted to be chosen without conditions. As the evening stretched on, the cafe emptied, and the world narrowed to that small table and the understanding growing between us. Walking her home later, the city lights reflected in puddles on the pavement, creating a cinematic stillness. She paused under a streetlight, the same one where I had first seen her alone. That was when the thought formed in my mind, not as a clever line, but as a truth. I explained to her, carefully, that the right person would not see her deafness as a flaw. That she would make a different kind of wife, one who listened with her eyes, loved with intention, and communicated with honesty most people never learned. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of recognition. Someone had finally seen her whole. Our connection did not transform into a fairy tale overnight. Life is rarely that generous. There were challenges that followed us like shadows. Learning each other's rhythms took patience. I stumbled often, frustrated by my limitations, embarrassed by mistakes. She, in turn, faced the fear of trusting again. Society was not suddenly kinder. Strangers stared, family members questioned, friends doubted. Love, we learned, is not just a feeling but a daily act of defiance against misunderstanding. Yet something changed in both of us. She began to walk taller, her smile returning not as armor but as joy. I began to notice how much noise I had been using to avoid honesty. Silence became our teacher. In that shared quiet, we learned resilience. We learned that partnership is not about fixing each other, but about standing together when the world refuses to adjust. Years later, I still think about that blind date that was never meant to work. Rejection had cleared the path for something truer. She was not the woman someone settled for. She was the woman who taught me what commitment really meant. Our story is not remarkable because she was deaf. It is remarkable because we chose to listen, again and again, even when it was hard. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change the course of a life, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement tells us these stories matter, and that empathy still has a place in this world. Before this story ends, I have one special request. Please comment one line below about what this story made you feel, or write the words "I choose kindness" if you believe love should never come with conditions. Your words may be read by someone who needs them more than you know.